The Ghana Empire was an incredibly wealthy and powerful West African empire that flourished during the medieval era. At a time when Europe was being terrorized by the Vikings while recovering from the fall of the Roman Empire, the Ghana Empire was dominating trade in Africa thanks to rich goldfields and access to the trans-Saharan trade route. Keep watching as we detail the rise and fall of the Ghana Empire. Perhaps surprisingly, ancient Ghana was located around 400 miles away from the modern country of Ghana and encompassed what is now northern Senegal and southern Mauritania. Some historians believe that the kingdom was built on the remains of the Mandi civilization, which was the first in the region to build stone settlements. These villages date to around 1600 BCE, and this civilization began to decline around 300 BCE due to Amazigh invasions from the Sahara. After the decline of the Mande, the Ghana kingdom began to rise, although the people themselves referred to the area as Ouagadougou, the land of herds. The area itself was a natural triangle of flat grassland situated between the Senegal River to the southwest, the Niger River to the southeast, and the Sahara Desert to the north. The empire was dubbed Ghana by the first Arab visitors because this was the title of the land's ruler. Ghana was the first of at least 3 great empires to rule the region, although there are no records of how or when the empire first came into being. It is generally agreed that at some point during the first millennium CE, traditionally around the 4th century, a number of Soninke clans came together under a ruler who was not from the region, called Majin Diabe Sise or Dinga Sise. There is a theory that Amazigh's incursions established settlements in an area known as Okar, and it was this settlement that was taken over by Dinga Sise, who also united the Soninke tribes. Historians believe the federation was formed as a response to attacks from nomadic raiders seeking new territory due to droughts. Dinga Sise became the first Gaina, or warrior king of Ouagadougou, and established the capital of Kumbi Sala on the edge of the Sahara, taking advantage of the emerging trans-Saharan trade routes. As the city grew over time due to increased trade, the capital encompassed 2 separate settlements, one for the Soninke and one for the Muslim community, with both settlements connected by a 6-mile road. The Muslim town had separate schools and 12 mosques, and the population was made up of salaried imams, muezzins, jurists, and scholars. While retaining his traditional beliefs, the Gaina used Muslim scholars for administration and bookkeeping. The town's houses were 1 story, and most were built from wood and clay, although stone was used for the more wealthy and important residents. The royal and spiritual part of the city was called El-Ghaba and was protected by a stone wall. Inside the wall, there was a sacred grove of trees for Soninke religious rites and a mosque for visiting Muslim officials. The town also had a distinct trade district, which Arab and Amazigh merchants inhabited. The Ghana Empire had several important cities other than the capital. One was Audiobook, an important trading point and former Amazigh town that became a tributary of Ghana. Due to the domestication of the camel in 300 CE, combined with the area's rich resources, the Ghana Empire soon began to flourish. Nearby gold and iron mines, as well as salt banks, gave them a source of valuable and sought-after commodities, which were transported by camels, allowing them access to an extensive trade network. They also traded in copper and enslaved people in exchange for finished goods, textiles, and beads. Traders came from the Maghreb, and the route began in Tahert in North Africa before they traveled down through Sigilamasa in southern Morocco. From there, they would head south, traveling inland but roughly parallel with the coast. They would then travel southeast through Audiobook before arriving in the royal town of Ghana, Kumbi Sala. By the 7th century, Ghana had become an important medieval trading empire. The Mande-speaking Soninke began acting as intermediaries between the Arab and the Amazigh salt traders of the north and the gold and ivory traders from the south. Much of what we know about the Ghana Empire comes from Arabic sources, and the first written references to the empire appear in the 8th century CE, described by Arabic historians and geographers. The Ghana Empire was ruled through a feudal system, in which the Gaina ruled over and exacted tributes from lesser groups, with most of the empire governed by tributary princes, who were thought to be the traditional chiefs of the individual clans within the empire. The Gaina also received import and export taxes that were paid in the product being traded rather than in currency. There was also a production tax levied on gold, which was the empire's most valuable commodity, and the Gaina became increasingly rich. An Arab writer named Al-Hamdani claimed that Ghana had the richest gold mines on earth, but the Ghana Empire managed to keep the location of the mines a secret from Muslim traders. The mines themselves were situated at Bambouk on the upper Senegal River. The gold from these mines was mined by hand and made West Africa famous throughout the Muslim world. During the 10th century, Al-Bakri, a geographer, described the opulence of the Ghana, writing, "The king adorns himself like a woman, wearing necklaces round his neck and bracelets on his forearms, and he puts on a high cap decorated with gold and wrapped in a turban of fine cotton. He holds an audience in a domed pavilion around which stand 10 horses covered with gold-embroidered materials, and on his right are the sons of the vassal kings of his country, wearing splendid garments and their hair plaited with gold. At the door of the pavilion are dogs of excellent pedigree. Round their necks they wear collars of gold and silver studded with a number of balls of the same material." Al-Bakri also described the city as being surrounded by wells and that they utilized irrigated fields to grow a wide variety of vegetables. Another boon for the Ghana Empire was their development of iron smelting, and there is evidence that people in the region made iron from ore since around 400 BCE. The Ghana Empire's success wasn't just down to trade. They used iron weapons, commanding a large army that some Arab visitors held to be 200,000 strong and included 40,000 archers. Another factor that established ancient Ghana as a powerful trading force was how well disposed the Ghana was to foreign travelers. Islamic writers would often comment on the fairness of the king and on the political stability that resulted from his rule. When a Ghana died, he was succeeded by his sister's son and buried in a large dome-roofed tomb. The location of the empire, its proximity to valuable resources, and the domestication of the camel all helped the Ghana Empire to establish a rich and stable economy that lasted for several centuries. As it grew richer, it was able to expand its political control and strengthen its position by absorbing smaller states and making them vassals of the empire. The decline of this rich and powerful empire began around the mid-11th century. The size and success of the empire was limited by its practical resources, and by 1059, the population density in the empire's largest cities began to put a serious strain on the region. The area had become hotter and drier, and the Sahara Desert began expanding southward, affecting the food supply. According to one legend, Ghana's wealth had been due to their worship of Bida, a huge black snake that lived in a cave in a sacred grove. In order to secure the kingdom's prosperity, Bida demanded the annual sacrifice of a virgin girl. The sacrifice was performed every year for centuries, until one year, the fiancé of the chosen victim rescued her before she could be sacrificed. Bida then withdrew his protection and took revenge by causing a terrible drought. Whether the drought was caused by a snake god or not, archaeologists have found evidence that confirms the area began to be affected by climate change around the 11th century, as sheep and cows were abundant in the area until the 12th century when drought-resistant goats became more common. Although the successful trade network allowed for imported food at first, new gold mines were created at Boer in modern Guinea, and new trade routes opened farther east, causing a decline in trade with Ghana. The drop in trade had a domino effect on the vast population, which now struggled to obtain imported food. Another factor that impacted the Ghana Empire was the growing power of the Almoravids. The Almoravids were a confederation of Amazigh tribes in northwestern Africa and Muslim Spain. While there is an Arab tradition that the Almoravid Muslims invaded Ghana, some believe that the influence was more gradual, as it was not a violent takeover. However, there is evidence that they captured the trading town of Audauguste around 1054, causing the city to decline in importance. The Almoravids were focused on a holy war, and their goal was to convert their neighbors to Islam. Their influence over the Ghana Empire, whether military or otherwise, was sufficient enough to further disrupt Ghana's trade network. And as they brought their flocks into the already arid agricultural terrain, they also had an impact on the environment, speeding up the process of desertification. Although the Almoravids' dominion over Ghana didn't last long, it cemented Ghana's decline in power. A greater threat to the Ghana Empire proved to be the growing Mali Empire. As Ghana's power subsided, its subject people began to break away or become tributaries of other rising powers. As a result, Ghana's influence rapidly declined. Meanwhile, a leader of the Keita clan of the Malinke people organized a private army and consolidated his power amongst his people. According to tradition, Sundiata Keita was one of 13 brothers who were the heirs to the throne of El-Ghaba. A neighboring ruler called Sumenguru, who ruled Kaniyaga, invaded El-Ghaba in the 13th century and killed all of Sundiata's brothers, only sparing Sundiata since he was young and sickly. By 1235, Sundiata had amassed an army large enough to challenge Sumenguru and defeated him in the Battle of Kirini, gaining influence over Kaniyaga's tributary states, thus signaling the end of the Ghana Empire. In 1240, Sundiata raided Kumbi, Ghana's greatest and last remaining city. Sundiata's army seized the city and razed Kumbi to the ground, destroying the last remnants of the Ghana Empire. How would you like to get a deeper understanding of history, impress your friends, and predict the future more accurately based on past events? If this sounds like something you might be into, then check out the brand new Captivating History Book Club by clicking the first link in the description. To learn more about the history of the Ghana Empire, check out our book, The Ghana Empire, a captivating guide to one of the greatest trading empires of medieval West Africa. It's available as an ebook, paperback, and audiobook. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this.